Somewhere, over 100,000 years ago, a human being pointed at the moon and gave it a name. It seems harmless, a footnote in the story of our species. But in that single moment, something died. Because before that sound left a human throat, the moon was simply there, infinite, undefined, unclaimed by language. The second it had a name, it became a thing, a category, a possession. And once you understand what naming actually does to the human mind, you'll never look at a name the same way again. Not the name of the moon, not the name of a disease, not even your own. Because this isn't a story about language. It's a story about control. To understand why humans started naming things, you have to go back to a time before words existed at all. Imagine it. No labels, no categories, no tree, no danger, no mind. Just raw, undivided sensation. Light, movement, hunger, fear. A world experienced, not described. For most of evolutionary history, that's all any creature ever knew. Animals still live this way. A wolf doesn't need a word for deer to hunt one. The eye sees. The body reacts. The moment passes. No name required. But somewhere along the way, something changed in us. Our ancestors began doing something no species had ever done before. They started freezing reality into sound. A specific cry for predator. A specific gesture for water. A specific name for the person standing beside you at the fire. And once that started, it never stopped. But here's the question almost nobody asks. Why? Why would a species evolve to fracture a seamless, flowing world into thousands of separate, rigid little boxes? The answer is more disturbing than you'd expect. Naming wasn't born from curiosity. It was born from fear. Early humans lived inside a world that could kill them at any second. A rustle in the grass, a shift in the wind, a shape in the dark, and the human brain, desperate, overworked, terrified, discovered something extraordinary. If you could name the danger, you could predict it. If you could predict it, you could survive it. The moment tiger became a word, it stopped being an invisible, formless terror. It became a known enemy, a pattern, a thing with boundaries. Naming was the first weapon humans ever built that wasn't made of stone. And once our ancestors realized language could tame chaos, they didn't stop at predators. They started naming everything. The rivers, the seasons, the stars, each other. But then something strange happened. Somewhere in that process, naming stopped being about survival. It became about ownership. Think about the last time you named something. A pet, a child, maybe even a scar, a nickname, a private joke only you understand. Notice the feeling underneath it. It isn't neutral. It's possessive. The moment you name something, some primitive part of your brain quietly whispers, "This is mine now." This is not an accident. It's ancient programming. Throughout human history, naming has always been the first act of conquest. Explorers didn't just discover lands. They renamed them, erasing the names that already existed, as if a place had no reality until a conqueror's language touched it. Colonizers didn't just take territory. They renamed rivers, mountains, even people. Because whoever controls the name controls the story. Slave owners stripped human beings of their birth names and replaced them with new ones. Not as an act of language, but an act of erasure. To take someone's name is to attempt to take their self. This is where everything changes. Because naming isn't just how humans describe the world. It's how humans dominate it. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. It's not just other people who get trapped by names. You do too. The instant you were born, before you had a single memory, before you had any say in the matter, someone gave you a sound, a label. And from that moment forward, that sound became the container your entire identity would be poured into. You didn't choose your name, but your name chose how the world would see you. Psychologists have long understood that names carry invisible weight, subtle biases tied to gender, ethnicity, and class, quietly shaping how people are treated before they ever speak a single word. A name isn't just identification. It's a verdict, issued before the trial even begins. And it doesn't stop there. Because naming doesn't just happen to objects or people. It happens to feelings. The moment you learn the word sad, you don't just describe an emotion. You start experiencing emotion through that word. Language doesn't just report your inner world. It architects it. This is where it gets genuinely unsettling. Some researchers in linguistics have proposed something quietly terrifying. The language you speak may shape not just how you describe reality, but how you're capable of perceiving it. Certain cultures, for instance, have no separate words for blue and green, and studies suggest they process the visual difference differently than those who do. Read that again. The presence, or absence, of a name can change what your brain is capable of seeing, which means the world you experience isn't the real world. It's the named world, a world pre-filtered, pre-sorted, pre-decided by the vocabulary you happen to inherit. You didn't choose the categories your mind uses to divide reality. They were handed to you before you could object. And once a category exists in your mind, it becomes almost impossible to unsee it. This is why the first thing every system of control has ever done, every ideology, every regime, every belief system, is to create new names. Name your enemies. Name your allies. Name the moral categories that decide who deserves compassion and who doesn't. Because whoever controls the names controls the boundaries of thought itself. But underneath all of this, the conquest, the identity, the perception, there's something even darker driving the human need to name. It isn't about power. It's about terror. Because an unnamed thing is an unbearable thing. The human mind cannot tolerate the formless. Ambiguity feels like danger. Uncertainty feels like death. So when we encounter something we cannot categorize, a strange illness, an unexplained feeling, an unfamiliar person, we don't rest until we've forced it into a name. Even now, especially now, notice how desperately modern humans chase labels, personality types, diagnoses, identities, aesthetics, categories for our trauma, our attachment styles, our political tribes, our taste in music. We are not doing this for accuracy. We are doing it to survive the unbearable feeling of not knowing what we are. A name, any name, feels safer than the terrifying alternative, standing in the raw, undefined center of your own existence, with absolutely nothing to hold on to. This is the part that should genuinely disturb you, because it means the entire architecture of human identity, your name, your labels, your categories, your sense of self, may not be a discovery. It may be defense, a wall built against the void. This isn't really a story about ancient humans pointing at the moon. It's about you, right now, watching this. Every label you've ever accepted about yourself, smart, broken, anxious, strong, unlovable, destined, was a name someone gave you, or a name you gave yourself, in a desperate attempt to make the chaos of being alive feel survivable. And somewhere along the way, you probably forgot that the name isn't the thing. The word ocean has never once gotten wet. The word you have never once contained the whole, uncomfortable truth of who you actually are. Names are maps, and a map, no matter how detailed, is never the territory. But here's the haunting part. Most humans spend their entire lives living inside the map, mistaking their labels for their identity, their categories for their reality, never once stepping back to ask what remains when the names are stripped away. What's left of you when nobody's watching to categorize you? What's left of the world when there's no words standing between you and it? Most people never find out, because the silence underneath all our names is the one place the human mind fears most. So why did humans start naming things? Not because we wanted to understand the world, because we couldn't survive facing it without a name to hide behind. Every label, every category, every word you've ever used to define yourself or anyone else. It's a small act of defiance against an unbearable truth. That underneath language, underneath identity, underneath every name ever spoken by every human who ever lived, reality was never asking to be understood. It was only ever asking to be witnessed. And maybe that's the real reason this feels so unsettling. Because somewhere, underneath every name you've ever worn, there's a version of you that existed before you had a word for you at all. And it's still in there, nameless, waiting,